right, we're just starting everything here. Go live on Instagram as well. Yes, go live. Connect. There we go. And we are live on Instagram as well. And I think that is it. Let's just see. Hey, everyone, as you come online as normal, just say who you are and let us know that you can hear us and see us and that everything works. Welcome, everyone. Innovation Fika, Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Just as always, every Wednesday, me, Donny, here, usually from KTH in Stockholm, but sometimes out in the world as well, with my 30-minute coffee break, where I get to meet some really cool people with really cool ideas. And it's my great pleasure, of course, then to share those ideas with you as well. So that is what this is. It's a 30-minute coffee break just to meet people and discuss and interact. So it's live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram as well. So make sure to come live. And as you come online now, let us know who you are, where you're from, and get the networking going in the thread. I hope that you can both see and hear us. You can do one last check here on the audio. Looks good. And so, without further ado, why do we say that? Please stop saying without further ado. It's a stupid thing to say. Everybody says that. I'm going to try to not say that. So,
you did say it.
I know I said it, but I'm kind of starting over here. Right. With that said, over to today's guest, Jens Bäckbom, founder of Pareto Business School, amongst so many other things. I mean, it's not really fair to just only call you founder of Pareto Business School, because you're so much more than that. So I will ask you the same question that I ask everyone else. So Jens, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Jens. I'm actually a KTH alum. I was like 5 points from actually graduating, so I did everything, and then when they sent me a letter saying, please come graduate. You're only 5 points away, and I was like, no, I'm not 5 points away. I actually took all of it. No, you took too long to sort of collect your degree. So we actually we took one of your courses and made it non-advanced. So it wasn't. I didn't actually require fill up the requirements to do the full degree. So I'm almost a physicist by training. But then did some business too. I also took a business degree here from Stockholm School of Economics, and went on an exchange for a semester to an MBA program in the US, Darden Business School in Virginia. Came back, started a company in the hotel industry. I didn't have sort of any background with hotels. It just sort of happened to end up there. And it was a software as a service company doing KPI benchmarking for hotel.
I did not know that.
So I spent a good sort of 7 years doing that. And then in parallel, I did some freelancing. I did some like headhunting. I was an owner in an IT consulting firm, but it was mostly sort of hotels and building a SaaS company. Then after a while, I sort of, wanted to do something else. I stumbled upon an opportunity with a government-owned investment firm called Almi Invest here in Sweden, and started working there as an investment manager, doing venture capital investments, like super early stage, and spent 5 years there.
That's how we met, I think, the first time.
Yeah.
From Almi. Yeah.
And I mostly worked with SaaS companies there too. But then the last year I spent as a fund manager, so overseeing like 60 portfolio companies. But start to feel like, well, this is more an administrative role. I'm no longer sort of working with the startups and with the founders. So decided to move on. And then it sort of I stumbled upon this opportunity to create a mini MBA. And basically I saw this from time to time with Almi. So it's like companies being started by technical people who don't have a business background, and there's some sort of fundamentals that you want in place, some basic stuff that everyone needs to learn. And then once you start to look at this, I mean, if you look at the traditional MBA, like as it originally was created in the US, it was typically something you did when you so you were perhaps an engineer, you worked in the automotive industry. You spent 5-10 years, and then suddenly you were in charge of a subsidiary, or you had a P&L responsibility, and then okay, you need some extra training, and then that's how they invented sort of the MBA, like a 2-year or 1-2-year program, learn the basics of running a business. But nowadays, if you an MBA in the US costs at least like $100,000.
$100,000.
A Harvard MBA would cost you twice as much, or $250,000.
Whoa.
A Swedish MBA there aren't that many Swedish MBAs. A Swedish MBA will definitely cost you like $70,000-$80,000. And someone
Mark my surprise, I did not know so that expensive.
It's really expensive.
I did not know that.
And someone just told me, like, someone actually labeled them and this goes for the executive MBAs, the ones that you do sort of besides, in parallel with work. Someone called them the divorce program, because people they're supposed to do it in parallel with work, and then they actually do the work, they actually do the studies, but they fail at home.
Yeah,
and then they end up divorcing. So there is a need for something smaller, more condensed, but still sort of fulfilling this need. If you don't have a business background but want to sort of the basics of business, that's what we do.
And now the great thing with these shows is that I get to not only pretend, but I can always be the stupid one, asking all the stupid questions. There's no need to pretend. I am this stupid, I promise. What is MBA? What does that actually stand for? I mean, because we use all of these 3-letter combinations all the time. We do it here as well at KTH. MBA.
Yeah, it's a TLA.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
3-letter acronym.
Yeah.
And business people, they love these 3-letter acronyms.
Yeah.
And MBA, it's a Master of Business Administration.
Yeah.
Disclaimer: what we do is not an official master's degree at all. So that's why we call it a mini MBA. But a Master of Business Administration, I mean, it is typically a university degree that you do 1 or 2 year. It's a 1 or 2 year degree, and it teaches you the basics of business. It's accounting, marketing, strategy, management.
Something that any business founder, manager, person should have, one would think.
Yes.
And that's kind of where you were when you said, well, why don't we start something like this then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, I mean, I think it's also a matter of culture, because in Sweden and in Nordic countries, an MBA, it hasn't been that much of a thing. I mean, getting an MBA hasn't been something that you typically do. It's an uncommon thing. In the US, if you want to have certain jobs, you have to have an MBA. You can't get into, let's say, management consulting without an MBA. You can't get into investment banking without an MBA. So it's built into the US system much more.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the need might still be there. I mean, if you look at one of our typical participants, would be like a head of sales or head of marketing, or let's say head of HR, and they would have been working, a couple of years. They're specialists, and then suddenly they're in a leadership role, and they might be in a management team, and they're like, well, so now we're talking strategy. Now people are using all of these TLAs. Wait a minute now, I don't understand this.
Exactly.
We actually did there's actually a free thing online that we made, a flashcard deck with, like, I think 90 TLAs. 90 common TLAs in business that you can use for free. It's on Quizlet.com.
There you go. What's it called? Quizlet.com.
Quizlet, yeah. So Pareto Business School on Quizlet. There's a free resource where you can sort of flip through 90 of those, and then you're set. You can you can talk business with anyone.
That's a perfect, like, if you're going to dinner with somebody that is in kind of business, do the flashcard thing on Quizlet before, and you can go 3-letter combination, 3-letter combination, 3-letter combination.
I just went into B2B sales, and then I'm working with these SQLs that we get. We work with MQLs, and then we transform it into SQLs, and then so we're mainly into B2B.
And it's all the fast delivery thing, of course. That's actually a 4-letter combination.
So it's actually 4 letters. Yeah.
I'm just to check my phone because sometimes people are commenting and it doesn't show up on the thing here. But we'll see. Hang on. Okay, so actually the topic of today was actually effective education. So
Yeah.
I will actually say then hi from Yash. Hi Yash. Yash from India said hi. So we can't see your comments, Yash. You have to go on YouTube. Anyway, comment on LinkedIn as well, so I can see you in my phone now. We're not seeing you on screen here. Effective education, and that's something when you talked about the mini MBA, it was both. First and foremost, you wanted to save people's marriages. And then second, you also wanted to make it both cheaper and easier and enable the founders of small companies to actually get these business skills.
Yes.
And when I'm talking about effective here, then how do you go about then, how do you design that to become as effective as possible?
Yep. So first of all, the word effective is interesting because there are two words that are sort of similar in English so effective and efficient, and I like to believe that we are both. And I mean the short version would be that effective. Well, that efficient is doing it right, doing it the right way, doing it in an optimal way, saving time, streamlining. Whereas effectiveness is doing the right it. So actually selecting the things that you are supposed to do, and not doing
Okay.
we try to do both. And so the way that we've approached this is like, okay, so we did the traditional MBA thing. We worked for a while, both me and my co-founder Matthias. We've started companies, we worked with companies, we've invested in companies, and after a while you sort of start to have some pattern recognition, like what are the things that we actually used from our business school training, and what are the things that perhaps should be in there, especially for smaller and sort of more dynamic growth companies. And then that's the effectiveness part, like picking out the things that are sort of more important for, let's say, a young entrepreneurial growth company. And the things you could, for instance, take out is much related to, let's say, economics, like macroeconomics. We don't dive into, unemployment rates, inflation rates, all of that. We do touch upon inflation, but then it's more from a business point of view, like how does it affect you? But when you're running a business, not sort of getting into like the mathematical, relationships between unemployment and inflation, all of that we can take away. And once you start to do this exercise and just picking away the stuff that you don't actually really need, then you're left with, quite a lot smaller program. Now the thing with and then it's about the efficiency, like doing it right. Then it's about having a certain sort of set of techniques that you use. And so I used to study languages in the military. And the basis of all good education, or effective or efficient education, is basically being motivated to do something. That's sort of the baseline. To learn.
Yes.
So what we first and foremost try to do is pick out students who are really eager to learn. So we actually have an application process where we try to figure out, well, are you actually motivated to do this, or is this something that your boss is telling you to do?
Good point.
That's level one.
That's a good point. I will just comment on that. A good point about, because I keep on meeting people who always try and pick the ones that are furthest away from being motivated. And they try and they fail. And it's like sort of, oh, this didn't work. Kind of, they're no good, we're no good, and it's just a failure. Instead of actually looking for the people who want to do it and succeeding with them. Okay.
I think that's actually having people, and I like to do this analogy of if you do programming, there's this wonderful website called Stack Overflow.
Yes.
You know Stack Overflow. So the way that you often use this is you're writing a program, and you run into an error message, and then you Google that error message, you find it on Stack Overflow, and someone has just solved it. And there's a upvoting mechanism where you can upvote the best answers to any question. The learning experience from that is really like, I'm in the middle of doing something I'm doing my job, and I'm running into a roadblock. and this takes away the roadblock, and I learn something.
Yeah.
That's the best way of learning, because it really sort of, it just sort of moves you in the direction you're already going. And so that is why we also like very much to work with people who are in some kind of transition period, where we can sort of give them tools, because then they're motivated to sort of take them on this, these tools take them on this journey. So that's the core pillar. Then it's about like using, when I studied language, to come back to that, we used flashcards, like very traditional flashcards. And the thing with flashcards, they have two mechanisms that are really good. One is called recall, and that is the basis of all good education, I would say. You're not learning until you are trying to recall from memory something that you've learned. That's the way you learn. So you first you read something, and then you get a prompt or a question, and then you try to recall it. That's how learning takes place. That's the rep. If you flashcards, it does this perfectly. I mean, you have on one side you have the question, and then you have to think, do the recall. You look at it. Oh, that's the answer. Great. The second good thing with flashcards is spaced repetition, because if you look at that card and say, "Well, I know this," okay, put it away. Next card. And then if you don't know it, put it back into the pile. After a while, you're only working on the ones that you don't know. So you're only sort of doing this, and this is called deliberate practice. And after a while, you've gone through the whole pile, then you can sort of shuffle them again and start over. In this way, you will work more on the ones you don't know, and you will, the ones you already know, they will space out over time. They will sort of, so that's spaced repetition, recall, and deliberate practice. Those things, they're sort of the basis of all good education.
Follow this guy, kids.
No, so and this is hard to do in because in business school. So I listened to this interview with the principal of Harvard Business School, and he it was this wonderful interview where he said, you know, the basis of the MBA degree is basically you read a case, like a business case, typically like a situation that there is, you know, the CMO of this company was facing this choice, had to make a decision. Here's some background information, and you're supposed to read the case. You're supposed to go into a group discussion together with your peers, and the professor will sort of point to you and say, "Mr. Bäckbom, please sort of tell us about this case. Tell us what should this protagonist do in this situation." And and if you haven't read the case, they fail you on the course. You have to read every case beforehand. So what does that teach you? It teaches you to come prepared, a super important skill in business, and it teaches you to form an opinion. And because typically the cases are designed so it's not obvious what this person should do. And the thing with the traditional MBA, you do this 3 times per day during 2 years. So you get this, you know, a massive training in coming prepared and forming opinions on complicated problems. And that is basically what business is about. Always sort of being ready to take action. And how can we do this in 8 weeks in our program? Well, we try. And we try to use the best that we know from flashcards to sort of grind some basic knowledge. But I think those are some of the elements of that we try to replicate on our side. But again, it boils down to working with motivated people.
Well, I have to comment on that though, because it's so interesting. Because the last part you just talked about is, you know, how do we teach people something which isn't just a 3-letter combination that they have to recall, but it's more of an abstract, more of a mindset thing. How do I approach information, understand, digest, and create an opinion on it? Because when I was studying, and I mean, I haven't got a traditional university degree. I have an army officer degree. So that's why I got my engineering training. And when I in the captain's course, which was a 40-week to 1-year course, we had like 48 tests in 40 weeks, and it was crazy. And it was tactics, and it was leadership, and it was, you know, boom, boom, boom. And the first we didn't really understand why they were bombarding us with so much information. And it was like, done next, done next, done next, until towards the end, you kind of started understanding and seeing the divide. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying the divide between the ones that were designated for like higher grades and more of a staff thing, and people who were functioned better in the field with other kinds of abilities to in a gestalt in a room or a battlefield understand what's going on and act there. And just I think it's so interesting how to sort of approach these more abstract skill sets in education, and how do we train people for that. And that was a really I've never sort of heard it described like that before. But of course you're right. That is what business is all about. The whole sort of coming prepared and daring to have the guts to have an opinion and act on that.
Yes. But and also, I mean, business is very much about a certain. Have you seen this movie? You know, I think it's called Taken, with you know this hostage thing where he talks with this kidnapper, and he says, "Just so you know, I'm a man with a special set of skills, skills that make me a nightmare for people like you." There is a certain set of skills in business, actually, and behaviors that you can train. One of them, I would say, perhaps the golden rule of the golden behavior in business. I must think, is this the golden rule? Yeah, this is probably the golden behavior in business. It's following up.
Yeah.
It's like you don't make the first sale call. Well, you do make the first sales call, but you don't sell in that call. You sell when you follow up.
Yeah.
The first time, the second time, the third time. And things don't happen just because you ask someone to do it. Sometimes you need to follow up. Most often you need to follow up. First time, second time, third time. Following up is sort of the super skill in business. And then there are other skills like, and some of them we try to teach, like delegating, knowing what you're good at, and sort of what to delegate, uncluttering, and you know, having your stuff in your mise en place, as they say, when you cook, and also sometimes negotiating.
Yeah.
So we actually have an element in our course where we send everyone out. Sort of you're supposed to do a negotiation this week, and come back and tell everyone what you negotiated, and we've had some pretty remarkable results from that, because when someone just has this idea of, well, this week I'm supposed to negotiate something, they have this mindset when they go into discussions with suppliers and customers, like, yeah, I'm supposed to negotiate something this week. So and then one of our students last cohort, he was like, yeah, you know, so I was negotiating with this a client of ours, and they were saying, can't you fix this GDPR you know, agreement for us? And I was like, that's going to cost me like, you know, $4,000 in legal fees. And he was like, well, wait a minute, they taught me something in the Pareto course. Why don't you fix the GDPR agreement? Because if you'll have it as you want it, you have internal staff, you have lawyers, that you're a big bank and we're a small supplier. And they were like, yeah, of course we can do that. And he was like, wait a minute, I just saved $4,000.
I just negotiated. Yeah.
I just negotiated. And he reported back to us, and I was like, yeah, that's twice the course fee. You just had a 100% ROI.
There you go.
TLA. So yeah, it's these behaviors, it's hard to teach them in a condensed course. You need to sort of do them, and that's what the military is actually really good at, like teaching you to fall back behaviors in all kinds of situations. But we try to sort of go straight for those behaviors and see what we can accomplish in a short period of time.
I mean, we could probably spend the rest of the day talking about this. We haven't even touched upon AI yet. We have to come back, and we'll do an AI session on education. And we have like 4 or 5 minutes to go here. I'm getting some comments on LinkedIn. Anybody else, just post your comments online now. We're still live for another 5 minutes, so we have all the time in the world, well, 5 minutes, to ask last questions. I will, though, come back to you. Do you see what you've sort of built up until now changing the coming 2 years with all of these tools around you? Or is it still so that the kind of skills that you're helping people to acquire, you can't really solve them by using ChatGPT?
No, no, well, yeah. So we actually use ChatGPT in the course
Yeah.
a lot. Because I mean, if there's a tool that can help you sort of produce text for something, if it can help you brainstorm, marketing, sales messages, why not teach it? I mean, it's a natural thing to teach.
Yeah.
What you cannot teach typically is sort of thinking on the spot. And you can't use AI really to develop behaviors. The behavioral aspect, I think we're pretty safe on that part. The But what we like to use ChatGPT either as, I mean, as most people use it, as a text generator for message, trying out different messaging and so on, but also for as a tutor. Because it actually can help you. I mean, we do teach some like classic, frameworks. A shameless plug here. If you go to our website, there's a free mini class, one of our most appreciated class on competitive advantages, moats, as they are also called by Warren Buffett. There's a great class there, paretoschool.com. But there is what we do then is sort of teach students. Well, go to ChatGPT and ask it to apply this framework to, Tesla or Spotify, YouTube. And it actually does a pretty good job with that. And in that way, you can, it's like having your own personal, MBA professor teaching you things in slightly from different angles, because that's what we're typically, textbooks fail. They can only do it. They apply the framework to one company, two companies. We can teach them how use ChatGPT to have it applied to several other companies, and then after a while you sort of get the hang of it, and okay, now I get the framework.
That makes sense.
So I think that's a great way to do it, and you don't need much more than just ChatGPT. We do like ChatGPT 4, the paid version, much better than the 3.5 so far. But
have you tried Gemini?
No.
I did an AI battle last week.
Oh,
I had Gemini and ChatGPT 4 beside each other, and I had asking them questions. And they were very defensive and disclaimers and the kind of all the things. So it was quite fun though. Anyway, ending off. I want to go back to you mentioned like 1, 2, 3, 4 things that you consider to be really important when it comes to general education. One was
motivation.
Yeah, that's first and foremost.
Yes. And sort of learning as a part of this either part of the job or sort of learning should take place when you're going somewhere, and it sort of removes obstacles for you. That's the best way to learn, when you're sort of heading somewhere and it just helps you, not sort of just throw in a course somewhere. That's the first thing. And basically it makes and you can flip that and say make people motivated to learn before you try to teach them. I think so, yeah. Or try and have learning just when they need it. Make it sort of available when they need it.
That's number one.
That's number one. Then it's about recall in every way you can. And recall is really about putting it into practice even before you are ready for putting it into practice. The ideal thing is sort of trying it. Someone's showing you first, then you try it, and they coach you until you've tried it and master it. That's the best way. Second best is sort of reading about how to do it, but and then trying it without the coach. But nevertheless, you don't learn until you've tried.
Visa, öva, pröva.
The whole the military thing. I mean, no, and that's the way to learn. So you have to try and negotiate something, and you have to live through that discomfort once, twice, thrice. Once you've done it a couple of times in a sort of comfortable setting where you're not sort of in a sharp, big negotiation, then you're ready for doing it once there's something on at stake. So I think motivation and then sort of recall first. And then it's about the classic sort of spaced repetition and deliberate practice. And deliberate practice is really about trying to only work on the things that are the hardest at all times. Try to, as soon as you master something, just stop working on that. Work on, go back to the hard stuff. If it's guitar, you do scales, you do the hard solo, you don't do sort of just sit and you don't develop by
That's how I do. That's how I play guitar.
Me too, but that's for fun. That's not learning. So
I know.
learning should be painful.
I know. Learning is painful.
Yeah.
Learning is painful.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
You should never. I think it's very important to be comfortable feeling like a beginner. That's an important thing for learning. I mean, you have to get into a mindset where I'm gonna look stupid now.
Yes.
Or I might actually fail, but that's how I learn. And that, and that's about psychological safety. That we work a lot with that to try to get everyone comfortable to speak up and so on.
100%. And that's what we say here at KTH Innovation. We say this is your fail space.
Yeah.
Dare to suck. I mean, you have to, exactly, because if you don't do that and have this shield of, then you're never going to enter into the uncomfort zone. So thank you, Jens. It's on the nose, 3 o'clock. It's the world's fastest 30 minutes. I've had Jens Bäckbom here, an incredible authority on education.
Oh, well.
And so much else. No, but this has been a true pleasure, Jens. Thank you so much for coming and spending half an hour with me. This is of course recorded and put out there for the world to see. Not too many comments today, but I saw that we had some here. We had some glitch with the online comments, but everyone watching, next week, 2:30 p.m., same time, well, maybe same place. If nothing else, 2:30 p.m. next Wednesday, again, Innovation Fika. But for now, we're saying thank you very much to Jens Bäckbom, Pareto Business School.
Yes, ParetoSchool.com.
ParetoBusinessSchool.com.
ParetoSchool.com.
ParetoSchool.com.
Yes.
Okay. Shameless plug from both of us.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you and goodbye.